I'm a reviewer. Let the reviews be joined. Hello everyone, Dinobot here with yet another review. On this one, we're going to do a look at Transformers Generation 1 Starscream. Now this is the original Generation 1 figure. This is not the reissue at all, even though the reissue is basically the same figure. Size-wise, as you can see, it's an F-15 jet. Basically size-wise, it's not really a deluxe. It's not really considered a Voyager or anything like that. It's just a Decepticon jet. It's what it's basically labeled as. So I'm just going to bring in a few figures to size comparison here. Here we have a Legend class, and we're going to bring in a couple other ones, a couple of deluxe figures here for size. I apologize, I'm slide my board back just a little bit. And we want to bring in the Mega class. Now, as you can already tell, he's going to be bigger than the Legends class. And still just a shade, just a little bit bigger than your Deluxe class. I mean, he's not really a deluxe. He's not even really going to be a Voyager, I don't think. To me, he looks more, he's just a shade smaller than the Mega class, as you can see from this Starscream from Armada. But all in all, size-wise, I think he was a perfect size for this figure, for all the Decepticon jets in that matter. Because all of them, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, even the cone heads of Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge were all basically the same figure, same mold, everything. Just a little difference here and there on wings and stuff and head. But you have to admit on one thing on Generation 1 figures is they had come with a lot of stuff. Nowadays you got most of your parts and everything comes into the figure or just the weaponries besides. Generation 1, they had basically everything set aside with the figure. Starscream was no exception. You of course have all this come apart basically. You also had his cannons for his Decepticon mode or robot form. You also had his fists for his robot form. Oddly enough, the bad sign for all these guys was the fact that you lose one, you're going to be out not only some full part of your figure, but on down the road, you're going to be looking at paying money. Because nowadays, people are trying to find pieces for, like, Starscream or any of the other ones. Or if they want the actual original part, they're looking at paying, $10, $15 per part. Which is what I had to do myself, because I was missing one of his missiles for his jet mode and one of his lasers. I actually found a store online and bought one of each of them combined together with shipping it off for like 15 bucks. So that really, in all, wasn't too bad for just those parts. But for everything, any little part, you're going to look for some money. Worst part of all, for all of the jets, was of course this little landing gear piece here. Was always the hardest, easiest, and pretty much the first piece that you would lose for him or any of the jets. And nowadays, it's kind of, you can get the reissues. Like I said, the reissues basically the same mold and everything. Nothing real big difference-wise. But as you can tell, mine does have, he's, going on 30 years old now, but he's, showing his fair share of wear. As you can see, I got a little sticker wear on his fins and stuff, but all in all, he's still in great shape. Mine does have the little issue on his foot here. You can see this is loose, but I'm not really sure how to tighten that. I think you can put a little stuff in there to tighten it up a little bit, but I haven't tried yet. And then his head does have an issue as well, which we'll get to when we transform him, which is what we're about to do. And transforming him, you have to pretty much take him apart. Bad. Well, not super bad, but still. And we'll start off, of course, we will remove the landing gear, which pins in, as you see right there. We'll go ahead and move his launchers and missiles, which we'll go ahead and show this off. I'm not even sure how well these guys don't really fire, considering they've been so old now. Actually, this one's not even wanting to shoot, but the missiles come right out and fire. Could also be that this is a little bit needs to be trimmed. I thought I'd done that, but I haven't. Of course, I did have another one that, as you see, it broke off as well. That's one of the reasons why I had to replace it, because these normally came with 3 of them at one time. So when you originally came out, but we'll just take the other pot off and pull the missile out, because of course it doesn't want to come out for me. We'll set the launcher and we'll put the landing gear away all the way. Go ahead and bring his cannons and fist back in. You can, it's normally a lot easier to go ahead and pull the wings off as well. You don't necessarily have to, you can work without it, but just for this I'm going to show you how to do it with them on. And then you can, the next step really is to turn right here to the back tail fins down and around, and you just basically flip these down, form the feet, and you can pull these apart just a little bit for the legs, and that was basically it. That was him. Well, that's him standing. Next step, you tilt right here at the fuselage, right behind the cockpit. You slide it just a little bit forward. You push the innards out, and of course you see they swing right out to the sides. It's easier just to raise them up a little bit. Then right here, you want to bend, pull that apart, and swing it down and around, which that doesn't want to do right now. Well, that's right, because I'm turning it the wrong way. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to do it this way. It's more easier to do. Pull it down and around. We pull it up. Now this is the point I was talking about with his headpiece. Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker are supposed to have their basically the nose cone stuff sitting like this, or else they can peel up like this and be basically the cone heads, like what Dirge and everybody, Thrust and Ramjet are basically considered. But as you can see over the years, well, he's actually going to sit. But yeah, see how loose that is. There's actually a pin in here that has gotten worn, and all the research I've done, there's nothing you could really do to replace that at all. I mean, it's just worn over time. So you normally have to, now I have to raise it just a little bit to keep it from going down. Next step, you want to take the wings and flip them over. You turn them around where you see the Decepticon insignia on this side. You can pin them right back where they were. You can, if you want, you can have them behind them. I kind of prefer showing the wings. That's basically how he was on the show and everything else. And plus, to me, it looks a lot better. Do the same on this side. Just pin it right there. Note when you do that, though, it does kind of change it where you can't move his arms as much. But if you want to display them like this, which is what I normally do, I think it looks better. Or you can even just work it just a little bit. You can even pull it out just out of the hole just a hair. You can still adjust it. You know, just a little work and weaving. You can set them up the way you like. And next you can add the cannons into the missile launchers. Do it on this side as well. And you do it either way. You can either put the guns on first, or you can put the fist on. To me, I find it easier to put the fist on first. That way you're not knocking the guns off as you're putting the fists on. Again, slide this on. And then you just peg these launchers into the side holes here on both sides. And there you have Generation 1 Starscream in his robot form. All in all, the Generation 1 lines, I think, were some of the better figures done. Granted, they're 30 years old, but still a lot of them have held up really well considered now they're 30 years old. I mean, like Starscream here, yes, he does his issues after time with the head and all, but still, I mean, what can you do? The same with the springs and his launchers as well. You know, they wear down after time. I mean, anything's going to wear out after a while. But still, I mean, you don't. The bad sign on him was, of course, not a lot of articulation for his legs and his arms and stuff. He don't have no, elbow movement, no knee movement, no foot movement, no none of that. But still, I mean, considering this is how they, when they first started, this is how they did it, and they were just still learning basically how to do them right. It's a great. Whoop, I knocked the wing off there. It's still a great figure. And Starscream has always been one of my favorites. If you've seen my collection, you see how many Starscreams I have, and I'm so proud that I finally completed my original after having, issues with the losing missiles and his laser and all. But I mean, what can you do? I mean, it's something that happens over time. You're always going to lose parts on anything. But would I recommend this? If you're a Starscream fan, or even any of the Decepticon Seekers or Jets or anything from the Star Transformers line, I would recommend this figure. Mostly for me, it's mostly for the fact that I never actually really had Starscream growing up originally. I did get him several years back because I really wanted Starscream. I actually had all three of the Seekers: Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. And my first one was Ramjet. Then, most of Ramjet, Dirge, and Thrust didn't have the same amount of stuff that Starscream them did. But still, I mean, he is a great figure. Granted, he's been repeated in molds several times. It's still a great mold for a figure. But this is just a quick little rundown of Starscream. I mean, if you're into G1, I definitely say get this figure. If you're a big fan of Starscream, I say get this figure. I mean, granted, yes, it is a lot harder to get the original G1 part, G1 1980 issue 1, but you can always get the reissue. It's a lot cheaper, but it's still the same type of figure, same exact figure, no changes, no nothing on it. But this is just Dinobot Maximized, saying this is my review on Generation 1 Starscream, and I hope you like this review. And check out on my next video where I'm going to finish off the original 4 issues of the Transformers Marvel comic line, or at least the original 4 issues, which up to now has become 100 issues, which should be up hopefully in the next few days. If not, just keep an eye out for it. But this is Dinobot Maximized saying thank you for watching, and feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and everything else to my videos. And hope you've enjoyed this. And this is Dinobot signing.